I guess nothing is for certainty anymore. Hi everyone and a big welcome to an update on the ban list discussion, I guess. So here is Wizard of the Coast taking over the Commander format with an article on the future of Commander. So to summarize pretty much the beginning, it is going into detail about what we more or less already know, that the rules committee have been receiving a lot of hate, pretty much expected, because in the end, no matter what they do, they will be hated and death threatened, and that is really bad and sad. And I really like that they emphasize this. The Commander RC is made up of 5 talented, caring individuals, all with other jobs and lives, which they must balance with managing the most popular format in Magic. In the end, doing something for a hobby while you're being death threatened isn't something an ordinary human being is usually okay with. Nobody deserves to feel unsafe for supporting the game they love. Unfortunately, the task of managing Commander has far outgrown the scope and safety of being attached to any 5 people. Honestly, I kinda agree with that. It is in the end the most popular format in Magic, and 5 people trying to manage that are not being paid for it, might be a bit tricky. So today, in partnership with members of the existing RC, the Rules Committee, we are announcing that the Rules Committee is giving management of the Commander format to the design team of Wizards of the Coast. Now, what could go wrong? Nah, I'm just joking. I think it's gonna be fine. Working with the community to craft this format is critical to all of us. We have opened a new Discord channel, the official Magic the Gathering Discord Commander News channel, and we will always have weekly MTG streams talking about this tomorrow, October. Yeah, I guess I will try to take a look at it. Now, what's next? While this is very early, we don't want to share any of the things we've just started working on with the Rules Committee. Actually, the Rules Committee kind of talked about that, and I've actually already read this entire post, so I know that they have been talking about how to efficiently communicate power level, basically, which I think is a good thing. And here that comes. A more objective approach to deck power level and additional guidance and share language for players to find games that match the type of game they're trying to play. And I love that, because that is something I have been recommending on various videos for years now. It isn't anywhere near finished yet, but as part of building this with the community, we are opening it up for feedback, thoughts, and our versions of how this will look. Think of it like an open beta. And here is their ID. There are 4 power brackets, and every commander deck can be placed in one of those brackets by examining the cards and combination in your deck and compare them to the list we'll need community help to create. You can imagine bracket 1 is the baseline of an average pre-constructed deck or below, and bracket 4 is higher power. I wonder what cEDH is then. Is that bracket 5? Well, I don't know. For the lower tiers, we may lean on a mixture of cards and a description of how the deck functions, and the higher tiers are likely defined by a more explicit list of... I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but you get what I'm saying, what they're writing here. For example, you can imagine bracket 1 has cards that can easily go in any deck, like Swords to Plowshare, Grave Tyrant, and Cultivate. Where bracket 4 have cards like Vampiric Tutor, Armageddon, and Grim Monolith. Yeah, that's... except this one, it's kinda cEDH-y. Cards that makes games too much consistent, loop-sided, I think that's some form of word for infinite, or faster than the average deck can engage with. Yeah, so whatever they're going to write about the bracket 4, that's going to be some form of the cEDH bracket, I guess. Or I will create bracket 5. In this system, your deck would be defined by its highest bracket card or cards. This makes it clear what cards go where and what kinds of cards you can expect people to be playing. For example, if Ancient Tomb is bracket 4 card, which it is, your deck would be generally considered a 4. But it's part of a tomb themed deck, and I'm guessing Ancient Tomb is that then they're referring to the name, that you're playing every single card you can get your hands on that has a tomb to it. Then it's something of a tribal deck and not really a cEDH bracket 4 deck. I guess it's what they are saying, as they are writing that the Ancient Tomb is on the bracket 2 and not a 4, and then there's the rule 0, is this okay with everyone? So far I have to say I kinda like that system. Will this system guarantee perfect matched games? And I'm gonna say no, and they are also going to say no. And that might be fine at your table. And I have to agree, like, it's very hard to say this is perfect, but I do like this. I actually think that this is how EDH should have been kind of constructed to begin with. Now I don't know for certainty what these 1, 2, 3 and 4 brackets are going to be, but it's a pretty good direction, I think, regarding to how you should power level casual. As I've said before, I've talked about this before, and this is an approach I really enjoy. And now we get to the very important part that everyone is keen on, I guess. We will also be evaluating the current ban card list alongside with both the Commander Rules Committee and the community. We will not ban additional cards as part of this evaluation. While discussions of the ban list started this, immediate changes to the list are not our priority. And I kinda agree, like, it's been done. They banned Dockside, they banned Mana Crypt, they banned Jewel Lotus, they banned Nadu. Like, live with it for now. It's very stupid to just reverse everything. Now, I kind of wanna highlight too that I've said in some of the previous videos that I was prepared to just wake up and hear everyone say it was a joke, we're taking everyone back and expecting that there will be some take-backsies on the concept. Let's just finish what they write, because I think this is very important to just read out loud. For now, the safety and well-being of the Rules Committee is the priority. Yes, I totally agree. What has happened in this past week is entirely unacceptable. I totally agree. By working together as a team, we can shoulder the responsibility of this format and everything that comes along with it. So I have a lot of things to say here. So first and foremost, the amount of hate they have received is quite serious, I would say. Well, on the end, it is the internet, and internet is bound, with a large community, is bound to create some very nasty people. And when normal people with the normal jobs and normal time schedules, kids and all that stuff gets encountered by this, that can be quite annoying and remove the enthusiasm about the project you really enjoy. So I can see that some of them have been like, this isn't really for me anymore. Like, it's not worth it, so to say. And that's really sad, because think of this. If we wouldn't have the Rules Committee, then EDH wouldn't have been a thing. Now let's begin by actually talking about Jeweled Lotus. Now, I don't want to feed any conspiracy theories and such, but I can see the argument a lot of people are going to make in the comments below of this video, is that Wizard of the Coast are taking over the format to secure its money machine. This is in the end a very expensive card, it's inside products, you can open it in boosters, and boosters' value are going up if this card is expensive. And if this card is worthless, which kind of happened once they hit a ban, then that's less money for Wizard of the Coast. And here's where you could make that conspiracy theory argument. And honestly, it's a company. Like, yeah, that's definitely that could be a thing. Like, in the end, Magic the Gathering is trying to make money and all that stuff, so I'm not gonna sit here and try to argument against it. But a card that is, like, not played in any format except, okay, I know that there's, like, you can play it in, what was it, Legacy with that doubling cube thing. I'm said it now, so I don't need to write it in the comments below. But Jeweled Lotus is a youth, if it's banned in Commander, it has no format whatsoever to be played in. So I'm just gonna call it right here now. I think Jeweled Lotus is gonna be unbanned. If Wizard of the Coast are being in the control of the format, I think they're going to unban it. Not now, not like soon, but definitely eventually. Now, we don't know exactly what kind of power level they're trying to showcase with the bracket 4, but you could make an argument that Mana Crypt will be unbanned in that, or like that bracket. I don't know exactly how they're going to put this kind of structure together, but it sounded like they had some cool ideas, and we'll see when they start to share things on their social media. But depending on what kind of power level they're positioning the bracket for, then maybe Mana Crypt might go unbanned. And I guess that the same thing can be said about Dockside Extortionist. When it comes to Nadu Winged Wisdom, Wizards of the Coast have said themselves that it was a mistake. They didn't think this would be this strong as it turned out to be. But honestly, I don't know. Nadu really has some solid arguments for casual reasons to stay banned, but depending on how they're constructing this bracket, it might be legal in some of their higher bracket structures, but being not so legal in the lower brackets, you could say. But if the Wizards of the Coast are taking over, then it kind of opens up the discussion of anything. Like, how are they going to balance the format from now? It's an entirely new entity, you could say. Now, sure, they are saying down here that they're going to communicate with the rules committee and the community, so they are probably going to be looking for feedback and on what should be okay, which means that Coalition Victory is most likely going to see an unban, together with that green giant something, maybe for the higher brackets. Like, it's very hard to actually say how this is going to turn out on the future of Commander until we actually know more about how they're going to philosophize, how they're going to structure these brackets. Now I want to talk more about the brackets and why I do believe it's the right pathway forward. You see, cEDH is kind of easily defined and easily explained to people in general. You begin by saying it's the normal Commander format with the mindset of winning the match and building your deck to optimize it towards winning the match. That said, you have easily explained it kinda good. However, there are more power levels within casual. You have the pre-con structure, and then you have everything between pre-construct and cEDH basically. There is actually a system called from 1 to 10 that some casual EDH YouTube channels, I think Jumbo Commander was the first one who I heard it from, regardless, have talked about it, and it's a basic power structure where 1 is pre-constructed and 10 is the most optimized deck you could possibly think of. And when you sit down at a table, you're telling your opponents that this commander deck here is a 7. And then your opponent are saying that, oh, that's a problem because my commander deck is a 5. Which means that the power imbalance here is a little bit too wide. But I do have this deck that is a 6. So 6 to 5 or 6 to 7 might be better. So let's do that. The problem with this, and this is where I have concerns where the bracket might not work, is where it's up to interpretations, basically. Let me show you an example. What should we search for? Kenrith. So here we have a new Kenrith the Return. Yes, just click on that. I have never actually seen this deck list before, but here it is. So what do we have here? We have Etali, we have Etali 2, we have Balefire Dragon, Beast of Whispers, Crankle Bloom. Now, this is a cEDH YouTube channel, so a lot of you are going to like, yeah, this is a casual deck, and that's perfect. That's exactly what we want to hit. Now, from 1 to 10, write in the comments below where you're going to place this. I really want you to do that. Like, let's just go over this deck for a second. Balefire Dragon, Beast Whisper, Birds of Paradise. That's a cEDH card. It's actually quite good. That's gonna increase its power level. Crankle Bloom. You can use it as a spot removal. You can loop Crankle Bloom and Kenrith. You have another... Wow, this is a very weak... Are casual players really playing this? Oh my god. You have Birds of Paradise here, and then you have this thing. This is a very strong card in casual. Elevator of the Wild Court, really strong in casual. God Eternal Oketra, making really strong tokens. Grand Abolisher, that's a cEDH card. Now you should probably raise the power level a tiny bit. We have Diabolic Tutor. For you cEDH players, this is the 4 mana cost Demonic Tutor. This deck actually does not play Sol Ring even. I can't see it. We have Aether Veil. That's a really good card. This is a really big mix. Like, Aether Veil is super expensive and Sol Ring is quite cheap, so... And we have 38 lands. No Mystic Remora, no Rhystic Study. But to prove a point, I want you to write down in the description below from 1 to 10 where you are placing this deck's power level. Because I believe that we're going to have a very spread result. We're going to see some people saying 5, some people saying 4. We're going to see some people saying 6, 7. I don't think we're going to see anyone saying 8. But while you're at it, feel free to also place this deck in the bracket 1, 2, 3 or 4. And this is the point I'm trying to showcase, that it won't work. If it is going to be very open and broadly speaking something that the community is going to kind of determine by themselves, people will have basically different opinions. You're going to sit down in a game where someone is saying, this deck, let's go this one, this deck is a 2. And then they play the game and this deck wins and the opponents are going, you know, your deck, that wasn't really a 2, that was a 3. Do you have a different deck? And then suddenly you have a problem. And that's my concern with this. But they also seem to understand that this won't solve all problems, because once again, will this system guarantee perfect match games? And they write no. We also don't know in detail how this is exactly going to work out. But I have a solution. Don't worry guys, I'm onto it. And I guess this is a perfect opportunity to again showcase a little bit about what I've been working on behind the scenes. So what are you actually looking at? Let's actually begin from this angle instead. So in the previous video, when we talked about and showcased the news about the bans, I did showcase this. And back then I only had 37 entries so far. But since the making of that video, I have been able to increase the count to a total of 58. So what you're looking at is a data set. What you're looking at is a game, a cEDH game played on the channel Double Sleeved MTG, where you had these commanders. You have Kram here, starting player, player 1. Then you have Thrasius Vile Smasher by Introbeck, player 2. And you have the guy playing the Haymaker, and then I have Yi-Dog on Nadu Winged Wisdom. So yes, this game took place before the ban. And the winner was player 3 with Emil the Blessed and Dockside Extortionist, making Balen the Haymaker the winner. And here we have a key thing, we have cards. We have cards that actually appeared inside the match. And I want you to take a look here. We have a Dockside Extortionist that appeared on both player 2 and player 3, and it was part in winning the match. We can also see that Nadu had Shuko in play, but if I remember correctly, I think it was this, yes, here it is, the winner, the Haymaker, had at Collector Oof in play. And I actually have a comment about this match. Collector Oof stopped everything. Now I want to go back to this place and explain what you're seeing. So from those 58 games, I have total 15 matches where we are testing Dockside Extortionist versus Sol Ring. What I've done is basically looked at every single game where Dockside appears as a winner or loser and the Sol Ring appears as the opposite. So every game Sol Ring wins, and every game Dockside wins, but also when Sol Ring or Dockside, the opposite, appears on the losing position. And from that, we have 15 games, and from that, Dockside was the winner in 60%, and Sol Ring in 40%. This doesn't showcase the power level of Dockside or how much win rate Dockside has in general, but it's showcasing the potential of Dockside being stronger than Sol Ring. And by the way, down there you see that we're excluding the opposite. So from only those 15, you had Dockside, but never Sol Ring appearing at the same position as Dockside. Let me explain that one more, because it can sound like a bit complicated. So if Dockside is a winner, without Sol Ring being also among the cards that player utilized to win the match, while Sol Ring is on the losing position while not having Dockside, we're trying to figure out the strength or which one of these two is stronger, and the answer is potentially Dockside. Once again, I want to emphasize that the sample size is really small, but I think you can see somewhat what we're figuring out here. The next step in this is to do the same thing with Dockside, but this time versus Mana Crypt. Let's actually just do that for a quickie. So we have 12 matches where this has happened, and the answer is that apparently Mana Crypt are winning more than Dockside. So the verdict could be something like this. Mana Crypt is stronger than Dockside, Dockside Extortionist is stronger than Soldering, and the Mana Crypt is stronger than both of them. And then you keep doing this for every single card, basically. Dockside versus Ad Nauseam, Rhystic Study, Bane of Progress, Collector Roof, Smothering Tide, Kenrith, Nadu, Shuku, Lightning Greaves, etc, etc, etc. And just keep going for quite some time until you've... and all the cards, basically. So then you go Soldering versus Mana Crypt versus Rhystic Study versus Mystical Tutor, etc. Until you have basically created a perfect ranking of all individual cards. I want to highlight that when I usually do these statistical videos, I prepare a little bit more than this, because this has been a project in the making and something of a hobby on the sideline. But as the ban list, like the entire discussion came up on thought, and I was like, I might as well showcase a little bit about the progress in the behind the scenes, because this will, in my opinion and belief, be a functional approach in figuring out a power structure and a power ranking on all individual cards inside the entire format, once we get enough data. As a short explanation, I wasn't actually planning to do this to solve the entire format for you guys. I was basically trying to figure out how strong Dockside was, and how strong Mana Crypt was, before the ban. I started with this project long before the bans actually happened. The initial 4 bans of Nadu, Yule, Lotus, and etc. But what you can do with this once you've basically power ranked all individual cards, and sometimes, for example, let's say that these 2 cards get a 50-50%. That would indicate that they are equally strong and should get the same value in power ranking. But once again, once you've figured out the entire power ranking on all individual cards, you can start to power level your deck.
It's over 9,000!
I couldn't resist throwing that in there. But then what you basically do is that you create levels or ceilings. So you say that, okay, so in this power level, I'm going to play a rating of 2,000. And then we're going to have like another power rating of 5,000 and then 9,000. And 9,000 is when you hit cEDH or something of that sort. And tournament organizers could do the same thing. They could say, this tournament is around this ceiling, this power rating value, or this tournament is around this power ceiling value, etc. This could then also be automated. So if you actually look down there in Mox field, you see a price tag of 400 USD dollars. And next to that, to the right, you could have the power level. And who knows, maybe the Wizard of the Coast are going to implement something of the sort. Maybe they will have a system where the only thing you need to do is just make a deck list, and then boom, this deck list is going to tell you what the power rating actually is. This will make it so that people don't need to go and explain and evaluate things themselves. There's actually a website called Commander Salt where you can post a Moxfield link and boom, you get to know how much salty your deck list is. Now, this isn't a power level rating website, but it's something to kind of power structure and explain some of the stuff, kinda, in a more jokey fashion. But you get my point. Instead of having the people sitting and trying to put a scale on things, it could be kind of automated. So what was it? Please stay tuned for more. In the meantime, you're welcome to join Discord and discuss future. And let's see if they're interested in my feedback.